To derive the aggregate demand curve from the aggregate expenditure model, we need to talk about what the aggregate demand curve talks about. Usually, you have P at the top. P stands for the price level. A lot of times, you could just say it is the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index. This graph does not have the Consumer Price Index on it. So something you see in economics class a lot is how you can make one graph into another graph. And just like a demand curve can shift because of some other thing, the price of limes can go up because of a bad growing season. Right? The price of cars goes down because of high oil prices. You have to take some outside event, shift the curve, and draw a new curve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how you can change prices here, and you can make the AD curve. I'm going to draw 3 points on the AD curve based on 3 price levels. So first, I'm going to assume that the price level is 100. And I'm going to say this is what the world looks like at this price level. Now, if I change the price level, I'm going to raise it to 120 and I'm going to lower it to 80. In other words, inflation and deflation. And I'm going to say, well, how does people's spending change because of that? And the answer is, just like anytime someone in real life sees prices go up. If I go to the grocery store with a $20 bill and I see that prices have gone up, I might buy fewer groceries. My real spending goes down. So if the price level goes up, people can spend less. My grocery bag is less full. If my rent goes up, I might get a smaller apartment or a roommate because I can't afford the rent. So in other words, I have less GDP if the prices go up. So that's the first thing. All right, this is what it looks like mathematically. If prices go up, I'm going to say to 120, I have to shift the curve because there's no P on this graph anywhere. So this is AE if P equals 120. And so if you look here, inflation eats away at my ability to buy real goods and services. Higher prices, all else equals, mean I might have to get a smaller apartment, go grocery shopping less, eat out less, because prices have gone up. And so this is 2 points on the curve. All right? The other one I'm going to say is, well, what if prices go down? Well, then I've got a $20 bill and I go grocery shopping and I find that I can buy a whole lot more. All right? So this curve right here is AE if price level is 80. In other words, deflation means I can afford a bigger house and more groceries. So now I have 3 price levels, 80, 100, and 120, and I've got 3 GDPs. All right, and I kind of made this up to be 200, 400, and 600. All right, so let's start at the top. If P equals 120, GDP is 200. So I'm going to say this. If P equals 120, equilibrium GDP is 200. If the price level is 100, GDP is 400. And finally, if prices are low, equilibrium GDP is high. If you connect these 3 dots, you get the AD curve. So that is the mathematical explanation of why the AD curve slopes downward. If you take higher level economics classes, you might see 2 other curves. Right, so you might also see that if you change the interest rate, you can get the IS curve. So if you change P, you get the AD curve. If you change R, you get the IS curve from intermediate macroeconomics. Finally, if you change E, the exchange rate, you get what's called the DD curve in international finance class. So this curve, this Keynesian cross, is not only important because it shows the relationship between income and spending and how increasing spending can change GDP. It also is used to derive other curves that you see in other economics classes. It can be in 215, you see the AD curve. As there's inflation, people are able to spend less on goods and services, and therefore you move down the line. But in higher level classes, you can see that high interest rates cut spending too, or a strong currency cuts spending. So in other classes, you'll see this again and again. So that is the aggregate expenditure model for principles of macro.